two short-term rental bros come together.
What?
Not in that way, bro. There's a podcast of truly epic proportions where we talk about all things short-term rental and shoot the shit along the way. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. Here are your hosts, Matt Codd and Austin Spitz.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Codd. I'm here with my good buddy Austin Spitz, and today we have a special guest. We have Matt McCall-Stillman. He's a real estate broker, short-term rental owner, operator, real estate agent, coach, designer, and anything else I missed, you could throw it in because we just talked about it a second ago. So what is going on, Matt? Welcome to the Co-Host Bros.
Good to be here, gentlemen. Yeah, been a while, Austin. I met you, I think STR Wealth officially, right? Yep.
Yes,
Matt,
this year. Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
I just, I had met Austin in the airport. I just didn't meet him at the conference.
So you did go though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What people don't know is you just got done joking so much that like we actually believed you did stand-up comedy. So yeah, like, I gotta watch you, man. I gotta watch you.
Don't worry, I'll run the ads for the tickets when I start doing it, and you guys can all buy it and come on out to Houston.
That's good. Okay, you're out of Houston. I get. But are you both out of Texas?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Michigan over here.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's how we met. Met you at the conference, and then I met Matt just kind of on the way home at the airport. He was wearing a conference shirt, so I was like, extend the networking portion of the conference here at the airport. So I just started chatting up with Matt, and we just been.
And he fell in love. It was weird.
Yeah, we fell in love, and it's been magic. It's just been magical ever since.
Magical. Yes, that is awesome. I didn't realize you were so recent in meeting each other. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, bros fall fast.
Still in the honeymoon phase, so it's still good. It's still good right now.
Oh, we've had our first argument. It's okay.
We got through it.
Yeah, he slept on the couch. His couch at his house, not on mine. Don't get any ideas. We're just fucking joking. Anyway,
see, nobody. Like I said to our people, we don't know when you're joking or not.
Remember, those tickets are $75.50 a piece too. They're going higher than Matt Rife. No.
Wow, this is good. So
many Matts. Okay, well, we'll jump into it. Yeah, let's go for it. Why don't you break us down? Like, how'd you get involved into short-term rentals, and what's your journey in real estate? You said you've been in real estate for about 12 years. So for our listeners that may not know you, why don't you give us a little rundown on your story, man?
God, I just realized it might be 13 now. Gee, sorry, I can't say that anymore.
That's
These
okay.
years are flying. But yeah. So I started with working at Quicken Loans and United Wholesale Mortgage. Started in the mortgage world, was teaching underwriting. Actually, I started as an underwriter, started teaching underwriting. Then I started teaching appraisals across the nation. So I was looking at national real estate and valuations and understanding what drives value here and there in different ways. And it was fun. I was understanding risk factors, and I got into doing long-term rentals. And from there, I started a property management company, a mortgage company. And it just pretty much anytime I had a company that I thought wasn't doing it well, I just made my own. So that's what I did. And I was a real estate agent, and I was with my broker. My broker told me, he's like, you should get out of investments. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. I said, I think you're stupid. I think you're a waste of time. So I made my own brokerage. I didn't actually say that. But,
that's funny,
I did find it very weird. And he's like, he was big on like luxury listings. That's cool. Like, no doubt. Like, but I wasn't pulling luxury listings as a new agent. Most new agents don't do that. But a new agent, I will screen this up and down every street. A new agent shouldn't be so caught up in like trying to get all these normal buyers and sellers and these luxury listings. You need to focus on investments, because investment deals, it doesn't matter if it's a great market or a shit market, you can make things happen. You can sell properties if you know how to find value in properties. And that's what I focused on. And as I was focusing on that, opened my own brokerage. I started just to attract investor agents and to my brokerage, WSR, Woodward Square Realty. And over time it grew. We peaked in the 70s in terms of how many agents we had. And then post COVID and NAR settlement, we dropped. We're down to like 66. But we're still holding on. It's been tough. But thank God we started short-term rentals. We started those about 5 years ago. And it's funny because my property management partner, who I ended up suing for stealing all of our clients, he actually was telling me, you should try the short-term rental thing. It's working out for me. And I was like, yeah, man, I should try it. So I tried it. I did. Guys, it was god awful. My first unit looked like a joke. It was all Facebook Marketplace garbage. It looked like a college dorm room at best, and I made money on it. And you could do that back when it started. You really could.
So when is back when?
Say what?
So when is back when for you when you got your first short-term rental up? Like about how many years ago? So
yeah, 5 years
gotcha.
ago. Yeah, it was ugly. But you know, my second one was better. My third one was better. My fourth one was better. And I just closed on my 32nd 2 days ago. So we own all of ours. We've been very busy. We manage another almost 40. So we got a lot of data. We're strictly in Michigan right now. We did have an 8-unit hotel in California, which we did sell. That was tough, actually. That was way tougher than I thought it was going to be. Did not do
You're
well
in Cadillac, right?
We have one in Cadillac. It's funny you say that.
Okay. I heard your podcast with Kenny. I just realized that about like 5 minutes ago when we were talking.
You're like, oh, this is.
It dawned on me, and then I had to go look real quick, and I was like, oh yeah, that I did listen to that episode.
So I was talking to Kenny this morning, as a matter of fact. He's got a couple clients that I'm helping out with over here, buy some things. But yeah, we listed our property in Cadillac because we had some zoning issues that popped up the last few months. So yeah, that's our first property ever that got officially banned. However, there's a chance we're going to get our zoning back, but we're listing it for sale in the meantime. So I was like, it's funny that you brought that up, but might be our first. But some of the people are like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of regulation and zoning and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, well, you still got to pick smart. But we've done this 32 times for our own personal properties. One has ever been banned. And if you include all the properties I've helped my clients buy, that's probably another 40, 50 Airbnbs. And so if you look at it, it's nearly 100 units. And if nearly 100 units, there's one banned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, to revisit what you were saying too, like, if you were a real estate agent just starting to focus on investment properties and learn that, because it's like 9 times out of 10, you call a real estate agent, they don't own any property at all, right? I'd feel a lot better if I had you looking for a property for me and you're like, yeah, I own 32 short-term rentals, right? Now I know you know what the hell you're talking about. So it's funny because we're actually on the same brainwave today because we both wore the same color t-shirt. So that's a good start. My hair's not red though. I wish it was though. Beautiful hair. That was just my creepy comment of the day. So you're saying they need to still buy smart. When you say buy smart, break it down what you mean by buy smart. Even if I were to buy a house that broke even, I mean, there's other criteria to buying smart, right? So let's talk about what the criteria is to buying smart.
Matt, do you know how few people say that? Like, what if it was cash flow zero? Like, you know, just a net zero. You're right. There are still arguments to why you would buy that. San Diego. Like, if you're in San Diego, appreciation's 50 grand a year. All right. Zero cash flow.
I love San Diego.
And what else happens? You're getting the tax benefits, right? So it's like you might be writing off 50K as well. So, you know, what's that doing to your financial like pro forma? It's improving it in a big way. It could be a net 100K positive benefit, even with a zero cash flow. So I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney, but it also depends on the value range that you're doing, what you're writing off. Are you doing cost seg? All those things are big factors. You know, what is your income amount? Are you a real estate professional? Did you qualify for the STR tax loophole? Oh, by the way, it's not a loophole. It's just a real tax code. I don't know why we keep calling it a loophole. We try to make it sound like cool. It's just a code. It's just a code.
Like it's hidden.
No, we got to quit clickbaiting this stuff. Like, you got to get into some deep like crazy thing. It's not that. I think we overcomplicate real estate and taxes when we really need to be just like shedding light on it and educating people like, hey, here are things that were available to us but never taught to us in traditional education. And it's like that's what you guys are doing. You're being the Prometheus. You're bringing fire to the people, right? Like hey, I'm trying to share something that's light and helpful so you can like go and grow or cook or whatever, just do something better with, right? So that's what we all have to do as like leaders and educators in our spaces.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I think like it's so important, and we just have the tools at our expense these days to where like everything is online. You can teach yourself everything, and there's courses for everything. So it's like when you really figure out what you want to do, college may or may not be the right benefit. Like I went to college and I have a college degree, but I do nothing with it. I'm an entrepreneur. That's how I make my money. So yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. But one thing I wanted to pivot to is like I wanted to talk about you have a form of coaching or you have a coaching program. What is the kind of centralized theme of your coaching? Like as a coach, what are you trying to uh, help your mentees with, and what is the program kind of focused on?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It kind of plays back into what we are just talking about with Matt. One of the big things I was actually talking to John Bianchi about this week. We were talking about how there's such a push and drive to like I don't know if you've ever seen, but there's agents out there, and this kind of goes. This is what the catalyst was, right? And the coaching. I saw tons of agents going, check out this home run deal. Oh my God, this is a no brainer. Look at all this cash flow. And they're calling cash flow gross income. I'm like, cash flow is not gross income. A home run deal, a no brainer deal means it's got nearly 100% success rate, right? That's not the case. And that's really freaking ignorant of any sales professional, any real estate professional, anybody with a license and a fiduciary obligation to not defraud the public to be saying ignorant shit like that. And it bugs the hell out of me. And then the only thing that's a problem with coaching is there's not a license to coach. There should be a license to coach. And I hate to say that because I really hate when government meddles and like a lot. But at the end of the day, there's a problem because we have people out there coaching. And what are they doing? They're just barfing out stuff with very little experience. Like, hey, I did one thing ever. Now I can coach on it. I'm like, and they're freaking great marketers. And I'll tell you what, I suck at marketing. I do suck at marketing. I'm working on it though. But what's crazy is you see these coaches, you see these agents, they taunt you with how they're going to help you become rich and get out of the rat race, but they have no freaking experience. They have no timeline. Like you can have wins in a year, you can have wins in 2 years, but like 5, 10, 12 years, 20 years, like probably not. And until you kind of had those roller coaster rides of the highs and the lows, the oh crap, am I going to get burnt? Am I crushed here? You don't really. It's hard to teach on that because you're kind of when your student or your member comes to you and goes, "Hey, Austin, I'm this is going on. What do I do? How do I pivot?" One of the big questions I had recently was they're like one of my students was like, "Hey, I gotta sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but they're
No,
like,
go
hey,
for it.
I got this 2-bed house. I'm crushing it right now. It's doing 75K. 75K on a 2-bed that was sub 300 is pretty good, by the way. And I was like, good job, man. Awesome. Very happy. And they're adding a hot tub. They might hit 80, 90. We're really excited for them. And they were like, I want to do a refi, but I'm worried that the value won't come in. And I looked at the values in the area and I was like, you know what? There's a good chance it won't come in where you want it. And he's like, there's a chance I might be able to get a $20,000 like in bump in value, and maybe I can pull out that 20 grand. I said, well, what do you need it for? Well, I need it to like to backfill the fact that I have a deck that I just added and a hot tub, and it's been pretty expensive. It's like $25,000. I'm a little tight right now. I was like, hey, you know what? Great points. But will that 20 grand really help you? He's like, it really could. But I was like, let me bring some other thoughts to you. To even exercise your right to use the refinance, have you factored in your costs of that refinance just because the 20 grand value is there? He goes, no. I was like, probably 4 to 6 grand just in costs. Let's call it 5. You're down to 15.
Right.
To pay 15 grand to now also have a higher interest rate when you could just go get a 0% interest card for 16 to 21 months. Like, he was like, shit, why didn't I think of that? Or another option, go get a second line of credit or get it. You don't use a HELOC. you get a second lien on the properties, all these things. But I was like, dude, you got a 3% interest rate on your property. I don't want you to lose that to maybe net 15 grand. It's like not knowing who to talk to about those things, the better use of dollars and leveraged money. That's where I think people fall short because they haven't had that experience and that hardship of going, I don't have the money. A lot of people that are investing for their first property, second property, they don't have the money. And this finishes the point, right? I am big on making sure people don't get burnt. So I want them to buy a highly successful cash flowing property. And in that adventure of doing that, I want them to become a very strong entrepreneur. I want them to start to build that confidence and really see that, oh man, not only do I have a property, I am now a business like owner. I'm an entrepreneur. And think about for where you guys went with everything. Remember when you finally, like, when did you guys start as entrepreneurs actually?
For me, probably go ahead, Matt.
No, you're good. Good, go for it. You said for me and everything. Keep going.
I would say probably I started my first business at like 23, so probably 7-8 years ago, and yeah, so I'd say like 8 years.
What was the catalyst for the change?
To go into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, why did you want to do that?
I think I've just always been wired that way to where I was like not really focused on things that everybody else was doing. I was always something that I wanted to do. I always had something on the side, and I had to have something on the side to where I could make it my main.
And why did you have something on the side?
I think because mostly whatever I was doing, what I was mainly focused on didn't fill up my cup. So whatever I was working on, my passion project and building that, number one, filled up my cup. Number two, I was building something for myself. So I knew at the end of the day, I'm not making somebody else wealthier. I'm building something that myself that's scalable, that I can grow, that I can give people jobs, that I could eventually maybe sell someday. And that kind of just fulfilled me a lot more.
What I'm hearing is you were testing your powers. Like you had a vision and a life for yourself, and you're like, you know what? I need to keep dabbling with this. And as you grew that confidence, you finally did the full send. You went all the way into it, right? And now, if you compared Austin 1 year before quitting to Austin today, are they the same person?
No, dude. And I think a lot of that attributes to like, no, night and day, dude.
Yeah. And that's what's so interesting. It's like what's funny is that point between a year before and the actual moment where you quit. Like I've been talking about this more, like it's the fork in the road, right? Like people think, oh my God, I have to go from employed to self-employed. I'm not even on screen now. Like that's what they think, right? They're like, I gotta go boom, boom, but it's not that. It's the fork. You're one person realizing there's another life available to you, another opportunity, and then the split happens like this, right? You just get a couple degrees off your center, and maybe a few months later you're more like this, and it continues to expand and maybe gets exponential, and that's when you get to where you are now, right? But in that moment, I think so many times we overvalue how crazy that change is, that we're so caught up in like, oh my God, like, can I even do it? Hell yeah, you can do this. Hell yeah, you can do this little fork, this little splinter, right? That couple degree change, it is not earth shattering that moment, but on the timeline of your life, it is completely different. And you need to like celebrate these moments. Can you imagine when people got job promotions and new jobs? You know, we celebrate, we take people out to dinner. Why don't we do that as business owners? I know some of us have probably heard that thought and that theory, but it's a real failure on our part. I think it's also because business owners get busy and we forget to just celebrate, but that's a whole other topic. But I really think that's one of those big issues. And I think as a coach, what I try to do is I try to make that couple degree variance easier to do and not make it such a cumbersome process. Like you are going to evolve tremendously. And if you take like a personality test today and you take it even in 2 years as an entrepreneur, what you're going to see is there's another change. I took the test last year and I took it again today. And I saw more change in my decision making and my fast acting nature. And part of me was kind of, I went from, I forgot what it was. It's the 16 personalities test, but the most recent one was Commander is what the title of it was. And I was like, Commander, that sounds like a barking out orders. That sounds terrible. And then I shared it with my students and there was like, what do you guys think? It's like, no, that's awesome. Like, you help lead us into battle. And I was like, okay, when you put it like that, I do want to be the commander, right? Like,
Yeah.
but that also is my style, right? I want to go like, if I tell you to jump in the water, it's fine. It's because I was in the damn water. I'm in it right now. I just bought another one the other day. And that's the problem with a lot of coaches. They're like, you should totally go do this and this and this. And I won't help you find the property. And I certainly won't be buying anymore right now because I'm too busy making money on coaching. It's like, be in, if you're the cook and I go to chef school for you to teach me and you're not cooking, are you really even the chef?
So would you say like some of these coaches that haven't driven the results and shouldn't be doing it, do you not think that like they kind of eliminate themselves and expose themselves over time? Or are you just saying like at that point they might have ripped people off? Like because I think like if I
Both.
was joining somebody, I'm very good at like sniffing out the bullshit. So like it wouldn't take me long to be like, this dude ain't done shit. Like I'm not gonna keep paying this person because I can tell he hasn't done it. But obviously, you have the track record and the results. But I'm saying like that's something that should be pretty easy to sniff out. No,
So you just nailed it. And I think that when you're new to coaching, you're afraid to just sniff and go, hey man, are you gonna fuck me? like so I'm sorry for the language, but it's just like
No,
No, that's what
perfect.
we
We
do.
love it.
almost boldly, you have to ask the question. You have to go like, hey, are you got my back? Are you gonna be my, even if whatever you are, lady, guy, whatever, like, do you really have my back? Are you in the trenches with me? Like those are fair freaking questions, man. And I feel like you nailed it. I think that when you've been an entrepreneur, you know what to look out for a little bit better. And when you've been doing certain businesses or coaches, like recently, I hired another coach. It was crazy. I was looking at it. I think I spent over 150,000 on coaching in my life, and which is a lot. That's aside from just school, which was like 60 grand, right? And when I was looking at it, like overall, I've gotten my value, but I've definitely burnt some funds, burnt it on the wrong people, full of talk. And honestly, I had to burn those funds for me to learn those lessons. And sometimes you're going to get a bad coach and you're going to like, I screwed up. I didn't ask those questions. And I hope all people considering coaching, either their first time experience or even their 13th, whatever it is, like talk to them. Like, I want to go here. I need to know that I can reach you because I want that right coach. And you might find that it's just not the right type of coach for you. Some coaches are going to say, here's my video library, watch it. I'm not that type. I have a video library, but I tell them I do custom coaching. What does that mean? It means I'm talking to you about your personal situation, because what I'm going to recommend for my student 18 versus my student number 7 is not the same thing because they're different people. This person has kids. This person has this job. This person has that income. This person has these fears. This person has this appetite. If you're not kind of managing that variety of what's in front of you, you're screwing up. And I've had to ask some of my people, I'm like, hey, like here's a nearly a sure winner in a city that should do very well for you. It should last 10 years. Here's one that has some volatility, but it's got some lakefront amenities. It's near skiing, snowboarding. It's a little bit out of your price range. What do you want? And I remember, this is the funniest. I remember one of our people, she was like, you know what? Let's go with the safe thing. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I'm glad you picked that, because I think that tells you what kind of person you are, how you feel about entering, the entrepreneurial world and real estate and being an out-of-state investor. And about 4 hours later, I had a call, and it was like, fuck it, lakefront. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what changed? She was like, I just realized I'm not excited about it. And she's like, I would rather risk it because I'd much rather have a shot at really hitting it big and have something that's beautiful that I want to stay at than being on the sure bet. And that's a risk I accept. And I was like, good for you. Not because I wanted you to pick one or the other, because I wanted you to assess where you felt. And I was happy you were going to default initially on the safer bet, because I don't want to see anybody ever lose. And that's the thing we have to have in this industry. We have to have people that do not want to see people lose and actually act on that. Like, tell people, no, like, dude, this is not a good property for you. I think you should probably go this way. Or if you're going to take this property on, here's what you need to cover to make sure the ends meet. So I don't know. There's a ton of facets to this. I'm sorry. This is a wild ride of conversation. But like, I am very passionate about making sure that people aren't getting burnt. People are buying right. People are in a room where they can talk finances and depths and valuations and understand that when you cash out refi, that's going to lower your net operating income, even though you might have an incredible cash on cash of 60%. But why pull all that money out just to have $200 in net income when before you had maybe 2,000? Like, yeah, you get your cash out. Now what's better? Now, if you're going to repurpose those funds for a new asset that's going to create another 2,000, and that first asset's just going to continue to build. Let's call it the San Diego deal that we were talking about earlier. It's appreciating at some higher rate, great tax returns. It's making its monthly mortgage payment. That's great. The second property is going to be your cash flow option. Then it can make sense. But it depends on your personal finances. Coaches need to pay attention to the custom variables of each individual member. And I think that we were doing that. If agents were doing that, there wouldn't be so many damn 1031 exchanges. How many 1031 exchanges have you heard of in the last 2 years? Like, and why?
Anytime.
Yeah, tell me it's not because that market maxed out or it's just a shit market. Tell me. And what were they fed? Or they were like, yeah, man, it's great. Because so many people just want to make the sale. And what I have with my clients and my members is they hear me say no, and they're like, and guess what? It builds trust. It builds respect because they're like, I've had people come to me with $1.7 million buys. Like, I want to buy this. I was like, please don't. There's no way this number is going to work. And who wouldn't want a 1.7 million to sell as an agent? Right. But I will say, no, actually, here's this one for 700 and it's going to crush. And they're like, you just cut like $1 million off. I'm like, doesn't matter. Because if I set you up with the 1.7, you're going to hate me and my rep goes down, or I set you up with 700, you have a good time and my rep goes up, and my rep matters.
Yep.
Integrity.
Yep. And then you buy another 700 with me. It's funny you keep talking about coaching, so I just want to segue that January 1st, Co-host Bros is starting their own coaching. I'm just kidding. Anyway,
do it.
So I do want to. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that investing is not sunshine and fucking rainbows and lollipops and things like that. And I like to cover the bad things too. So like we got on here, talked about how my house heard the hurricane, things like that. But I want to know, what was the worst thing that has happened to you in your real estate investing journey? Because, people, the problem is, I mean, be realistic. You listen to podcasts, listen to that. Everyone's like, oh, everyone's happy go lucky and everything works. And the problem, I think, with people investing is that people are scared to take fucking risks. And don't be scared to take a risk. It is what it is. Take a bet on yourself. It is what it is. Like when I bought my short-term rental, my wife was like, what happens if we can't cover it? I said, well, worst case scenario, we sell it. Well, what if we can't sell it? Then we lose money, but it is what it is. Like, at least we got the experience. At least we tried it. Right. So it's like people are scared to do that, but that was a little segue. I apologize. But yeah, what is the worst thing that has happened to you in real estate? What was your biggest mistake? Let's just say your biggest mistake. It sounds like it was pretty big because you're choking over there. You need some water?
Yeah, I do actually. If you can send it through the screen, I'll take it.
Call the secretary. She'll be right there.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate. God, you are so helpful. It's funny, man. Like I've been shot and stabbed and all that with real estate. But I'd say, what is my toughest? I think the toughest part about real estate, and also sometimes the best part, is my partnerships. I've done a good amount of partnerships. The bulk of what I buy these days is solo. But my past partnerships, I'm starting to do a cleanup, like ones that want to keep growing and pushing them to grow. Ones that don't, I'm like buying them out or we're selling off. And some folks, sometimes that transition's tough, I would say. And the other thing is, like, I guess what's more relatable, I guess. Partnerships probably aren't that relatable. We had the hotel. The hotel in California was tough because we had a partner that was supposed to bring 200 grand to the deal, post close, never showed up. And then it turned into us fighting to figure out, how do we salvage this deal 200K in the hole. In hindsight, I was thinking, because it was such a new asset class for me, I was thinking too small. I should have just gone out there and capital raised more money. And there wasn't really enough meat on the bone. I think that's probably why. I think I knew that subconsciously, and that's probably why I didn't try. But in doing that, we changed our direction of how we're going to design it. Therefore, when we did that, we went even more conservative than I even wanted. But one of my partners I couldn't convince, and he had majority say. And at that point, we did a mediocre design and we got mediocre results. So it's like sometimes when you have scarcity mindset, and I did it, I was guilty of this just a few years ago. It changed my plan. And by changing my plan, it ruined my top end margin of potential income. And at that point, the deal was pretty much dead unless I wanted to nut up and bring, mortgage out of house to bring that 200 that never came. And that was a bad partnership choice because I rushed into it because I had a relationship with this person for 20 years. I thought there's no way I'd have a problem. And then we went to do the cash out refi before the bridge loan financing was due. And this is the real, like, if you're not sharing the crap, right? This was a very stressful moment for us. When we were, he was like, hey, you have the mortgage broker connections. Like, go ahead, let us know what the best lender is to do the cash out refi. And I was like, well, we didn't really boost NOI much, so this is gonna be tough. We might have to bring cash to this deal, which is gonna suck, and we'll have to figure it out. But I found one. I go, here you go. Do this. He was the guarantor on the loan initially, and because he had the bulk share of the hotel and ownership. So I sent it to him, and he goes, hey man, go ahead and fill out the app. I go, you're the PG. You got to do it. He goes, well, then I have to do my taxes. I was like, then do your damn taxes. He's like, well, I haven't done them for 5 years. And I was like, what do you mean you haven't? What do you mean you haven't done your taxes in 5 years? And that was that moment where I was like, I definitely effed up with this partner. And so same partner that didn't bring that 200. And it was a very like rattling thing where on our, since high school, I knew him since high school, college. I've seen him doing real estate deals, traveling the world, fancy cars, private jets, like all the cool
not
stuff.
Not paying his taxes.
And I don't even know if those, we did some more investigation. We kind of saw that this guy, we don't even know what's real anymore, to be honest. We're not sure how any of it even happened. And now the truth is you can get burnt because if you're dealing with a snake, it doesn't really matter. Just like if somebody wants to like hack you, they're going to probably do it. So unless you really have like that way to sense those things, then I don't know, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but I will be asking all my future partners, I want your proof of filed tax returns. That's actually a real thing.
Learn that.
Yeah, I never thought I'd have to ask that question. So if you learned anything today, guys, ask your partners, do you file your tax returns? And would you dare show me a screenshot of a filed return? It sounds crazy, but why do rules exist? Because somebody made it necessary, right? So that was a painful one. But I think even on a flip, what we had, I bought a house. This is one of my first property. I think my fourth or fifth property I ever bought. We've bought, I think, over 55, 56 properties at this point. I think my fourth or fifth was a flip. That was my first flip. And that property, I bought it from a local wholesaler, and he kind of was a friend. And then I kind of walked into finding out that the city actually had, within 24 hours of me closing on it, had flagged it as what's that word? Basically uninhabitable.
Condemned it.
Condemned.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And I was like, wow, what a jerk. This guy totally knew. And so I talked to the same, like, what do I do to bring this thing back to life? And he's like, oh my God, you're gonna have to lift this house. You got to rebuild the foundation from underneath. This is my first flip. I was like, just shoot me, man. I'm done. And our contractor got so beat up by us that by the time it was over, like it wasn't toxic, but it was not good. It was not good. And now the silver lining is, I think this was probably the better story, really, just for that individual investment. I was so sure I was screwed. I was like, oh, this is going to bankrupt me, is all I could think. I was tense. I was losing sleep at night, nightmares, and now very little can make me scared these days. But in those moments, that was like 7 months of challenge. And what do I do every day? Now, in the grand scheme, by the time I listed it, we actually were still able to make about a $25K profit because the market rose alongside that timeline in a very, very lucky way. Yeah. And we sold it still at a profit, which was awesome. Now, if you factor in hold time and headache, the dollar value on that is like $4 an hour of energy. Yeah. So you need to start factoring that in when you do flips. Flips are not all.
But I think it's my point, though. You survived, right? Oh, you survived.
Dude. And that's one of my favorite stories I like to share. Like, every one of your bad days, every one of like your failures, which one haven't you survived?
And on top of that, that was probably worst case scenario. But it was, even though it wasn't worst case scenario, you still made 25 grand. So the story that you played in your head that was the worst case scenario almost went that way, but still didn't even hit the worst case scenario, right? Because you made money, but you just had a bunch of shit to deal with, and you learned from it in the time being, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like even to this day, like last year, we had a couple of flips that didn't go great, a couple that did, and some of them were over budget. But you start your tolerance as an entrepreneur skyrockets. I mean, like I don't know if you guys remember, like if you're probably your first couple co-host deals, you're like, oh my god, what do I do? What do I do? Now you're like, all right, you just do this. Like, oh, this guy's pissed. All right, no biggie. Here's how I can fix it. Oh, yeah.
Your problems get bigger and bigger the more you keep going. So like signing the first client, I was worried about all these things, and then now you keep going down the road, and it's like the things that scared me at first, now the things that scare me are much bigger. So like whatever used to scare me, all the growth that's taken place over the past few years have been like, your problems just get bigger, right?
Yep. And now just, and I think that actually is why my hotel deal was a problem too, because I think I was so bored with wins, and it sounds ridiculous, but I think you know what I'm saying. You go, I want more volatility. I remember I used to work with with Dan Gilbert. I did all the VIP underwriting loans for Quicken Loans, and at that time, I remember his second in command said, he's like,
hey guys and gals, I just want to let you know that we're going to be doing a live January 29th at 4 p.m. Central with how to find your next deal using STRIQ. If you don't know what STRIQ is, it's like the Zillow of finding properties based on cash and on cash return. We have an episode coming out, or it may have already came out, with Matt Sanderson, the co-founder. It is really an awesome product. So if you want to see that, just come and check out our Facebook event. We'll also go live on YouTube. If you can't find it, just feel free to DM me. I'll give you the link. Also, want to let you know, if you do want to use STRIQ, we do have a code for 20% off. It's Co-Host Bros 20. So if you use the code Co-Host Bros 20, you will get 20% off your subscription. So anyway, I hope to see you guys at the live. I want to make sure that you're there because we're going to be giving away some stuff, dropping a bunch of knowledge, and maybe we'll pick you with your question. Who knows? So we hope to see you there, and thanks so much.
He's like, if you are batting 100, you're doing it wrong. I always thought that was crazy. And one day it just clicked. He said, I'd rather you have a 90-95% success rate, because it means if you're hitting 100, you're not taking enough chances. And that just like, boom, it's like the day I finally like settled in my brain, I was like, oh my God, he's so freaking right. 100% success rate is actually not great. Are you really pushing yourself? Are you really learning? And so like this year, I find myself on that rabbit hole of like buying properties that I can develop on and really like do more. I've been testing myself. I did my first edition last year. I'm building a garage on this new house we just bought this week. And I'm like, all right, I think we can get this stuff done. And then I want to build like a community on a lakefront, because we have so much amazing lakefront in Michigan. I'm like, why haven't we done this? We don't have anything as special as live oaks. Like, I think we could do that, but I think we could do it very, very beautifully up here. So that's the kind of stuff I want to get into this year.
That's awesome, man. So let's go back. Let's go back to sunshines and rainbows. Talk about like, if you've purchased all these properties, do you have one deal that sticks out specifically where you're like, damn, favorite property, cash flows this? Is there one property that you have a little favoritism towards, whether it's be numbers, from a numbers perspective, or from a amenities perspective that you kind of prefer? And if so, why?
I think there's two that pop up. Our Orange Cadillac property, because all the greats that are good at underwriting. Like I'll never forget my first call with Kenny Bedwell after we did our first interview. I showed him this property. I was like, dude, look at this. I think I'm going to buy this. He goes, don't do it. There's no data. It's a bad idea. And on our second podcast, he brings it up. He says, Matt made me eat my words, and I'm going to go ahead and own it today. And it was,
he did say that too. Yeah, you crushed it too. You crushed it.
Yeah, we hit 177 in our first not even full year on this.
Yeah, but tell them how much the house was though.
496, 495, yeah, something like that.
Fucking stupid.
So that highlights the importance of knowing your local market versus kind of like no shame to Kenny, but maybe he doesn't know your local market as well as you do, where you're an expert, where you invest and you're like, no, dude, like it doesn't matter what you're not seeing data, this, that, and the other. I'm pretty confident like this is what I can produce with this.
And 100%. Kenny is a smart man, and
absolutely
the data-driven man. And data-driven people are good. They're very good, but I work in emerging markets. My job has been to identify things in markets where there is little to no data. And that was one of our first podcasts with him. I think he called it Little to No Data with Matt McCall-Stillman, or My Broker Matt, whatever it was. And it was funny because that's how I've made everything work. I've been working on this method to kind of boil down the properties in certain areas, figure out what those building blocks are, and I reposition them and I build it up from there, right? And I go, okay, this element, this amenity, this amount. Again, I've been noticing X amount of dollars per bedroom on this. It scales down when you get to this size. However, if you factor in the bed to bath ratios, you actually see this margin go this way and that margin go that way. And it's like there's some ways that I've been doing that in conjunction with lakefront, lake proximate, ski front, ski proximate, and many other amenities. And we're actually, I guess I'll kind of share this here for people that are in my group or join up for my top picks. It's in our email list. We have this pretty obnoxiously built out Google sheet that I've been building for like almost 3 years now, but it's 400 columns down of the active markets, mostly in Michigan, but we're trying to change it to be national now. There's 200 columns of data per property. So this is a lot of data that I'm constantly underwriting. And so when I underwrite properties, I'm factoring in actual holding costs, actual property taxes, actual insurance, no bullshit random percentages, like actual things that we've experienced on our very large portfolio. And we implement them based on rates per foot or certain areas or certain factors that increase or decrease your insurance rates or your utility rates and things like that. And by doing that, we've come up with some very, very like spot on numbers. And now we're going to be converting that to a software. So that's kind of the big thing we're trying to get moving in the next, this last part of Q4. We're hoping to have something functional by Q1, which is coming up all too quick. But it's a really exciting thing because it's not quite an AirDNA thing, but it's like an automatic AI influenced underwriting tool that will it'll help you look at 5 to 10 properties at a single time and actually give you analysis of what is your cash need on each property, what is the net cash flow, what is the cash on cash, because as we've all discussed, like you can have 3 properties at 30% cash on cash. Which one do you pick? Like, okay, maybe one needs 100 and one needs 200. One needs 100, one needs 120, one needs 80 grand to put in. Now, maybe for the person that only has 80 grand, that's an obvious choice. But maybe the person sees that there's a 30% cash on cash and they have 150 and they go, I'll buy the 120. Why would they? Maybe because that net cash flow is that much higher, right? And it should be at that point. And they're like, I'm buying for net cash flow. And that's the thing. Like, not every investor is the same. This is actually just full circle right now from our initial kickoff of this call. Not everyone's buying for cash flow. Sometimes it's tax benefit. Sometimes it's appreciation. Sometimes it's for what capital you even have available to actually like deploy. Sometimes it's just because you want to make a fat amount of money on a single property. You don't care if it's a 10% cash on cash. It'll bring you 10 grand a month and you have that saved up. I'll take a 10 grand a month property. High confidence, high cash flow like that. I'd go down to 10%. Okay.
Have you looked at STRIQ? Have you seen that before?
I've recently seen that about a month and a half ago.
And you're like, shit, that's close to what I was just talking about. They're similar.
It's similar. I actually like how they break down the income approach and how they're like bracketing some things. I think they can do some things better, but I think it has a lot of potential. But it doesn't really do the underwriting the way I think it should be done. I think I would actually thought about reaching out to them going, hey,
I can hook you up. We know them. We know the owners.
Oh, interesting. Maybe I should slow down.
We should, so we can talk about that offline. But yeah, we're cool. We know all of them. I'll call all three of the co-founders.
Well, they were
Yeah.
on the episode like 2 episodes
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
so-
One of them was just in the episode a couple episodes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, right now they don't work in Michigan, so I've only been able to test theories in states other than my own state. But
Did you pay for the software service?
No, I didn't.
Okay, if you do, just email them and they'll turn it on for you. Just email them and they'll turn it on. Yeah, and if you can't get turned on, let us know, and we'll hit our buddy Matt up. His name's Matt as well, and see if he can turn it on. Seriously, it's just where greatness comes. We just piss excellence in the morning. I don't know about Austin's. I mean, it sounds like I'm taking Austin.
No, the Matt joke came up because you're like 2 or 3 minutes late to the call, right? No worries. But I was like, I'll text him, see if I have his number. I typed in Matt in my phone, and I was like, fuck that, dude.
Yeah, he's like, I know too many Matts.
I'm sorry
75 Matts. I'm never gonna find him. Like, I know he's in here somewhere, but
that's why I was like, oh yeah, that's like Debbie in the 50s and shit. And then you popped in, you're like, huh? Like, oh yeah, same names. Everybody has same names and shit. Yeah. That's funny.
But no, also I talked to Matt with SDRIQ yesterday, and they're like, if you do chat with him, they are very open to hearing feedback and making specific changes for the user, because I use their software to analyze properties and put together projections for owners and stuff based on what the percentile of I actually have it up right here, what the percentile and what they're what they can make at 75%, 100. I've started using it. It's been amazing. I mean, I'm sure you underwrite it significantly more accurately because of your experience, but just to get a snapshot in a matter of minutes, dude, I'm really digging it.
Yeah, we're gonna do a live in January with them for everybody. Yeah. So
it's initial. I'm like my friend was looking in Vermont, and I was looking at it with her, and I was just like, wow, like for what it does as quickly and cleanly as it does, it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think enough people know about it.
Yeah, because
that's the problem.
Was honestly, I felt like it was pretty solid. Oh,
Austin's taking selfies to post on Instagram.
I was like, why did everybody freeze? I'm like, oh shoot, smile.
Yeah.
Okay. But AirDNA was great, but they made this new change where it's like, if you're not in, at least in Michigan and most of the Midwest, when you click on the map feature, it just freezes. It glitches up, and it's the worst thing to work around. And I was like, this is not even fun anymore. I don't even want to use it. I do feel like they still have generally the cleanest data. I think they're really, I saw the CEO do a podcast with John recently, and I was like, okay, that was pretty cool to hear him talk. It gave me a little bit more confidence in where they're going. But I really think that there's more opportunities coming. I think Kenny's been doing some pretty incredible updates and insights too.
Well, I think the fact that you can export Kenny's stuff is a lot better. Like I can export all my comps on one sheet and just look at them. And the thing I don't like about AirDNA is like, don't even project the operating expenses because it's fucking full of shit. Tell me it's $19,000 to operate. That's so stupid.
It's so bad how it works. Like I was like, okay, this calculator could be fixed dramatically in a day, but they're not thought into that. So I'm like, don't even have it. Don't even have it as an go fix everything else and how slow and like clunky that thing is first. But and you're right, you're not being able to export it unless you have like the super like expensive version is kind of like
that's stupid. It's already expensive.
Yep.
Like shit. Yep. I know. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, we can hook you up after. I mean, we can have a conversation, get you hooked up with them, so that maybe you guys can give them some suggestions. They also have I don't know if it's out yet in beta, like a little projection thing where you can just type in the numbers. But like I was telling Austin a couple episodes ago, I ran a perform on a property, and I had them pull the same property, and their cash on cash return was literally 1% less than mine. It was a trip.
Now that's impressive.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, I've never seen anything be actually accurate.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's 100% accurate everywhere. I'm just saying in my instance, it was pretty damn close.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, so I want to touch a little bit too. So you guys do a design business as well?
Yeah, so we got into management of other people's Airbnbs. I guess it was like 3 years ago. Yeah, I think that's about right. And in that, we kept getting that question: do you know a designer? Do you know this? and even with our own portfolio, we kept kind of like having those moments where we're like, dang, man, this is exhausting doing my own design and the setup. And, we've tried to collaborate with some other designers, but the issue with a lot of the mainstream designers is they don't know how to set it up to be a functional, manageable unit. They know how to design a property, but they don't know how to design it for function as an Airbnb, as an actual asset you live in. And I think that's one of the big gaps. And it's not that that's not fixable. I mean, it's not that much more to just figure that part out. But I think that if you don't understand that the wear and tear on these items, if you don't understand like some of the stuff that they pick is rickety and janky, or you fall on your butt when you sit on it, like you can't.
Yeah.
They pick like weak furniture, and like you need something that's can take a pounding. Right? Speaking of pounding, Valentine's Day, historically we always have broken beds or a broken couch. Like something's breaking. We just wait to find out what broke. It happens. Sorry.
I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind, but I mean,
too soon.
I mean, I could have sung it. I could be like, I don't see nothing wrong. I mean, we could have.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Just get the metal frame and a nice headboard. I mean, shit, they can't break the metal frame. It's okay.
So that's a rule we have. It must have a steel spine, preferably a fully metal frame. The issue is when you get into king size, most king size don't have fully metal frames and slats. So that's one thing. You can reinforce it. We've been talking about new ways to continue to do that. But overall, we also just having a thick mattress is really helpful to like creating more durability in the
shock
setup.
Absorbing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just in case you're watching Netflix and chilling on Valentine's Day.
Chilling hard. Yeah.
Chilling hard. Chilling hard, bro. That's great.
I feel like we're gonna have to put like a PG-13 rating on this one.
I always mark it explicit because I mean, unlike Austin, I can't control my mouth, so it's just is what it is,
No, I love it.
I think so far, like he's probably like been the most I mean, not like in a bad way, like the best explicit guest. So I think you could get the best explicit guest reward for episode.
Oh, we're gonna start giving out trophies now?
Wow.
I don't know. He takes the cake. He takes the cake for raunchy jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him the crown out of 50 other guests that we've had, 30, 50 other guests, something like that.
His F words were in context, and then he even said F one time just to like not say fuck. So that was pretty good too. Like it was impressive. You show he's versatile, right? When it's coming to cursing. So I apologize for everybody I offended. And if you got this far, then you're probably not offended. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I think
share the show.
That is my daughter is like finally on the verge of talk. Like she's kind of starting to say things that we think are words. Not just random babble. And my wife punched me in the shoulder. She's like language. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm just complaining about a real estate deal on the phone. She's like, you gotta be careful. I'm like, all right. Sorry, I said shit. My bad.
Yeah. By the time she turns 3, you turn into a Muppet. You're gonna be like that flipping French toast eating.
Yeah. Yep.
Muffin chucking. Yep. Yeah. And then you're like, God, I sound dumb. And then when they're 10, you're like, get the fuck over there. What are you doing? Like.
Right.
It is what you're just going to change it real quick.
So hold on, let me get back on. So for the setup and design thing, we kept getting asked, right? Sorry to all of our viewers. I know we're totally tangentful today.
A lot of ADD on this. There's a lot of ADD on this call.
It's good. It's good. It's good though. It's good. It's good for people to listen. I mean, it just shows that it's it's obviously this is not scripted. Obviously,
no shit.
Anyway, with the design, we're going back to the design, folks.
Design. Okay. So we kept having that question, and we just kind of realized we need it for our business. We don't feel like anybody else is providing it at a high level or a reasonable price point. So we decided to go ahead and try it. And now I think we've got it pretty dialed in after doing it for a handful, well, more than a handful. Geez. I mean, we're doing 5 designs right now. So between our properties and our other clients' properties, like we're doing a lot. We do like in terms of rehab for people, we'll sometimes do paint, fixtures, sometimes flooring, depends on the area. And we do add some amenities, but there are upcharges for that because amenity ads are freaking frustrating sometimes. Sometimes you're updating electrical panels and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, but when we're managing the properties, we're more happy to do it because obviously it's a better use of our time. but it is a lot of effort. And, before, when I used to bat an eye when I'd hear design companies go, we charge, 20,000, 30,000 for, designing it and ordering it. And sometimes they set it up. Some of them don't set it up, which I think that's ridiculous. Just to design it's like 20, 30,000. But we do design, order, set up. For managing it, we'll also help with the amenities and some of the light rehab. Which is more than most people can do, but we're typically between 18 and 21,000. But when you really break it down on a per hour basis and how much of a lift that is, it's really not expensive. Because I think if you actually add up all the hours you put into setting up a property and you even calculate it at $30 an hour, you'd be surprised how high that number gets. So
you set it up too?
Yep.
For like 18 to 21. Oh my God. Yeah, you're underpriced, dude.
I know. But that's what we do for especially the clients that we're managing. So
here's the thing. So here's the catch with the way you're doing things. It seems like you have a business geared towards any way that you can touch somebody in real estate and in the short-term rental space. So you can essentially sell them a house, help them with the lending. You can furnish and design their house. And then after that whole process, you can potentially get if you're designing their house, at that point, if you can't get the management contract after that, something definitely went south. But can you touch on like how all of your business entities kind of come together in one? Am I understanding this correctly? Is that kind of how you built your business out, or your businesses out?
It is. And that's a large part of why I started doing the coaching. Cause I was like, there's so much knowledge between me and my wife now. And we've dealt with every freaking issue. And it's like, there's only been a few people I've been able to go to really get the help for like that, and what happens, even as like a veteran investor and manager for you guys, right? Like the help you need, it's 1%, you say you're operating at 85 to 90% right now, going up from an 88 to a 90, that's a 2% increase, but you're going from a B plus to an A minus, right? But that's a significant jump. And especially when you're looking at superhost status, like I think the numbers are saying you make about 20% more by having the superhost button, like or superhost badge. And it's like that, those are marginal changes. But if that little tweak can bring 20% more profit to a portfolio of 10 properties, 20 properties, that starts to add up for you as just the manager and or the owner, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like those marginal changes when you're getting coaching and those little tweaks are so helpful, and just knowing where to go to for that that's value. That's real value. I think what's happened is with all these businesses, they all stemmed from a need. They all stemmed from something we were working on anyway. And before we knew it, like not only a need, but it was just like, we think we can do this better or help more people. And it kind of like became just that. And we are passionate about what we do. We love what we do. Hard to imagine ever doing anything different. We're here to stay, man. We're gonna be here probably another 20 years. We're gonna hopefully not work as much. And that's also, isn't that the crux of like becoming an entrepreneur? Like, even though you do it for the freedom and you do have those freedoms, you eliminate the thought of work-life balance. You realize it's work-life harmony. Like there's always got to be give and take. It's never going to be consistently this or that, because emergencies come up when you're an entrepreneur. You have to just adapt, and that just becomes like a part of your process. But in that, I can take, like we're talking about going to New York for a week next week just to go for my dad's birthday. And he just asked us last week. So we're like, but that's something we can afford to do. I don't got to go hat in hand to my boss, but please, can I go spend some time with my, senior citizen father? Cause I don't have a whole lot of more birthdays with him. I don't have to ask that permission. I shouldn't have to ask that permission. Like, shame on all of that. It sucks. Like, we need to be able to say, hey, we deserve to spend time, especially for like special things, especially when you don't. My dad lives out of state, so it's really hard to like get that time in anyway. But that's where the value is, and that's why we got to be pushing, growing, just have that culture of abundance. Like, how can I help? How are you guys helping me? You already offered help, so now I got to figure out, how do I help you guys? Like, what can I answer for you? How can I be of assistance? And it's like, the more you surround yourself with that set of people, it changes everything. And also, for anybody that's listening, that's making that transition or recently made that transition to self-employed, your friends, 90% of them are gone. Not going to be the same crew in the next 5 years. I promise you, it's just not feasible. Like those people, they're good people, but you have less and less to connect on, and they have trouble connecting with you. So whether it's their side or your side, something's going to fizzle, and it is what it is. So, but sometimes that's good because you really don't have enough brain space after a while for 5 to 10 people to like actually have on your mental Rolodex of who I need to like stay in touch with. If they're not about the things that you're about, it's hard to stay connected. Like we're talking about like business growth, life-changing things. Like all they can talk about is my boss is a jerk and I got to go to the ball game tomorrow. Like, or take the kids to the park, which I can relate to that still, but I can't talk about employment much.
Yeah, I think they just kind of like it's just like natural selection. It just happens that way. Once you go that route, you start gravitating towards people that are doing what you're going to do, and then they kind of just fall off. And that's kind of what happened to me. And like my whole new circle of friends looks different now than it looks like, exactly like you said, 95% of them. Like you said, no hard feelings. It's a different game. Like I'm trying to go this way. I'm trying to get to a high level. So I need to associate with people that are trying to do what I'm trying to do. And to your point, I think it kind of like, if you're really just wired that way, you make that switch, it'll happen organically because you'll just start gravitating towards the people that you want to be around with and you surround yourself with. So I can definitely attest to that for sure.
I think we train ourselves as a society to be worried about losing friends, right? So if you've ever switched to school or like moved away or something, right? It was super imperative, like, oh, I don't want to move away from my friends, or I don't want to go away from my friends to somewhere else. But where the fuck are all your friends? Like let's just, for instance, let's just say when you're in high school, where the fuck are all your friends from high school? Where are all your friends from college? You know, at this point in your life, friends just come in cycles, right? It's just always a constant cycle. It's like, you want to hang out with people who you have more things in common with. And it's like, if I don't have in common with this circle anymore, now I have to move to this circle to where it's, where they're trying to go, where I want to go. So it's solid advice. I mean, I don't think people realize that. So I think that's good that you explained that for them. We can do this all day. Keep going. No, go ahead. No, you're good. You're good.
No, we probably should.
No. Give us the one more, and then we'll wrap it up. Just because it's not the Joe Rogan podcast, we're not that cool yet. And I actually have a short-term rental meetup to be at today. By the way, everybody, it's last Wednesday of every month. If you haven't forgotten, so yeah.
I wish I could go. I was gonna say it's the hardest one. I think is the family part, because your family conversations change, and I'll never forget a few key moments. I took I invited everybody out for my mom's birthday, nice restaurant here in downtown Detroit. And I picked up the bill, and I'll never forget, my uncle was really weird about it. And at like his daughter's wedding, a couple months later, he was still being weird with me. I went up to him, we were all having drinks, and I was like, man, what's going on? Like, you haven't been talking to me the same. He's like, yeah, because you became arrogant.
Really?
What are you talking about? And he's like, you went and you got that new Corvette. Like, yeah, you think you're hot stuff now, and then you think you just pick up the bill for everybody. That's you're being cocky. You're throwing money around. I was like, are you? I don't even know how to respond to that, man. Like, do you think I just have this car just because? Like, do you want to drive it? Do you want to borrow it? Because you can. And he's like, no, I don't want to drive. It's a stupid car. I was like, weird. I'm like, then I started realizing this is his own shit. And I was like, the fact that you have a problem with me doing that, I was like, man, I'm seeing other elements of my family come out. Because goddamn, if they weren't rooting for me on the way up, once I got to the top, they were booing me the whole time.
It's when you get too far, is what it is. You get too far away.
And then I had
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. And I think that the cherry on top was like one of our relatives' funerals, and it was family that the mom that passed, my aunt. It was a tough time. So like when we went on out to our post memorial dinner, I picked up the bill and I got attacked for it. Like, why did you do that? You should not be doing that. This was for us. I was like, it was just a kindness. That's all. I loved you too. I love you guys. Sorry.
It's the limited mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, man. It's weird, but that changed.
Yeah, I was gonna say you start seeing that whenever the separation takes place, and you really see like you can't see it when everybody's on the ground floor, right? But whenever
No.
you start moving the needle and people start seeing you succeed, they see that little bit in themselves that they could be doing it too. And you either come from a place of abundance or scarcity, right? So the scarcity people is your uncle in the story, right? Like he doesn't really want to see you being better than him because he sees himself. But then you've got those other people that you know, like certain family members in your head. Their names are coming up right now, and you know they were there from you from the bottom, and then like now that you're up here, they're genuinely happy to see you there. Like they're like, dude, that guy's living to his full potential, and I couldn't agree more, man. I can very much relate to this.
Dude, I feel like we need more time with you and well, both of you, Matt for the jokes especially, but
Oh, we can go another hour. I mean, I got another hour. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, are the people that are like, they're your family, they're supposed to love you unconditionally. They should be doing nothing but rooting for you. But it's the same thing. If you grow up in poverty-stricken neighborhoods, and you start, moving up and doing better, than everybody else wants to pull you back down to their level. Misery loves company, right? So, I mean, your uncle was probably more pissed off that he couldn't fucking afford to pay for everybody's dinner, or he couldn't afford the Corvette, and he just thought that you were over there showing off. But it's like, I completely understand, because I don't know what it is. I just like paying for everybody's meal. I think it's like the ultimate gesture. Like, hey, you don't have to worry about it. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. You ran up $250. Cool. Here's my card. I'm taking care of it. It's good, because I think it's like, it's a nice thing to do. I feel it. So I understand like where you're coming from. It's not like, oh, I could pay for your meal. Like, I'd buy you a burrito too if you want. Like, shit, dude. Like,
how did you grow up, Matt?
I grew up poor.
Yeah,
like,
I could feel
absolutely. That. Yeah,
and
I grew up in gang neighborhoods and poor in the Bay Area in California.
Dude, okay, yeah. we have a lot of commonality, man. Because we had a very like welfare being shot at, like robbed, like I think we counted it was like 19 times. And the last time was Christmas Eve, and they stole our presents. And my mom was like,
"Oh, dude, I had the same house robbed 6 times when I was a kid, bro. My Nintendo got stolen 6 fucking times, dude. My dad kept buying me a Nintendo, and it kept getting stolen. I was so pissed. So we got a dog.
Sucked.
Yeah,
but it's funny because I think those times when you weren't used to it, especially if you didn't grow up around where money wasn't really a thing, when somebody takes you out and does something nice for you, when you're poor, it's like, oh my God, like you feel like almost bad about even being like asking for anything. You don't even order more than you should. You're very meager about how you do. I mean, at least I was. And in that thought, when it would get paid for, it was like such a treat. And I remember feeling like I just want to give these people a treat that's really special. I think that's what you do too. I'm sure Austin does it too. And it's like, when you want to be nice and genuine and give a gift with the short amount of time and energy that you have to give, which for us, sometimes just grabbing a bite with people we love, the last thing we want to hear is that you think that we're jerks for doing it. And it's just that's when somebody you're like, and F this, I'm out. Like, let me know you want to be cool.
We went out the other day and somebody picked up the bill, and my initial reaction was just like, "Oh fuck yeah, all right, that sounds good."
Thanks.
I like that guy.
I had a ribeye. He said, "You got it. All right, cool, man. That'll work."
Who says like pulls out their card? Hey, Austin, do you mind if I pay the bill? Like, normally I'm like, normally I'm gonna pay the bill and you're not gonna know. Like, I'm gonna walk over to the waiter and be like, here, just put the bill in this card. Don't worry about bringing the bill by. Just take care of it. Bring it by. I'll sign it. Like, it's like I don't want any argument or nothing. Like, if I'm planning on paying for it, I'm already planning on paying for it. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand why people get like that. And I think it's just a limited mindset, and they just think like they can't be at that level, or they can't do something different. Like you were saying, like the paradigm shift, right? Like the path you're on versus the path you want to gear toward, and you start widening out that path. I call things like the momentum. So when you're just doing things, you're like pushing that ball up the hill, and then eventually you need the ball over the hill, and you're like Wile E. Coyote going off the cliff in the ball, So it's like, it's just crazy, and people don't believe in themselves, or they don't believe in what other people, and everybody thinks like, you'll see people that that are like good people and doing the things they're supposed to, and they'll post a video, and then you'll see like, oh yeah, you're the reason why housing prices are high, and and this and that and this and that. And it's like, God, how stupid could you fucking be in your mom's basement playing Call of Duty? Like, dude, like the world is so much bigger than you think. Like money is of abundance. Like it just shows up. Like I have no idea. Like I'm realizing that more and more like every day. Like money just shows up. It just shows up. Like it's just there. Like my insurance company called me yesterday, told me they were going to send me another $35,000. Did I expect it? No. But they were like, oh, we got the report from the contractor. We have more money to send you. Oh, thank you. Great. Awesome. You know, like, yeah, it's crazy. People are just, I don't know. I don't get it.
I think the thing about your uncle too is he had every right over the last few years to look at you and see what you're doing and try and get a piece of the pie, come along with you on your journey, help you X, Y, and Z. And that's his fault. Like he didn't take advantage of using his network of having a successful family member. Of like, if I saw one of my cousins just absolutely crushing, I'd be like, I wouldn't try to mooch off of them. I'd be like, hey man, you're doing something right. Like I need to take notes. I need to be around you more and teach me how to do that. And I'll help you in any way I can. But it's more of like, I'm just going to sit back and be bitter about it instead and not do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish it was like that, but you know, some people are just, they're stuck in their rut and, you know, rather than be pissy at them, I've learned to be like more graceful. I'm like, they are stuck. They're just literally stuck in their mindset. Some of them are so trained in their own, like, shackled mindset that they're never going to get out. And then you have to just kind of go, all right, I can either meet you where you're at or I can just let it go. And you know, like if they're not adding value, you can be kind, you can be courteous, but put your energy where it's going to be fostered and given more air to breathe, right? If you're not doing that, for all the people that are absolutely listening to this and thinking that I'm freaking there, oh my God, I'm literally in a community around, like, my key people are not building me up or rooting for me to try the thing that I've been waiting on. You got to get them out.
Cut them off.
You got to cut it off. Change your community. You know, and oh my God, community. I'll say this: what we did with our coaching, the thing that I didn't expect is over this last year, I saw what the power of a community is. And I thought I was going to be coaching semi more at than with. And what I saw was this kindness and this intelligence in this group, caring for each other's purchases and make sure nobody's getting screwed. So it wasn't just me looking out for each individual student. Everybody was looking out for each other, and they were getting my cosign, which was great. But it's just when you have 10 people backing you going, dude, I looked your deal over too. I loved it.
Yep.
I think it's great. You should buy it. If you need a partner, I got you. Like, when you have that much like backing on a deal, because everybody has that same vision, that we all make sure everybody's executing on that community changes everything. I got a message literally an hour before this call from one of our new students that just got his design started. He's finishing up adding a bathroom. The paint quote got accepted. And I taught him how to set up his listing prior to actually being live and ready. You know, make it live, but for like 2 months out. And he just got his first booking for like, I don't know, a few grand. And he was like, a few grand for the weekend. He's like, this is going to change everything. And my other guy that's going live, I think the first week of December, he's already got 20,000 booked for December, which is like absurd. Like, before you're even live, you got 20 grand. Talk about it. Instead of having to wrap that sucker up and get it ready, you know, like, that's the kind of stuff. And when you have everybody rooting for you and telling you what you can do, some people are flying across the state to like help each other get it all wrapped up. Like, that's the power of community. Change your community if it's not good for you, man. That's pretty much what we've arrived at tonight.
It's the same thing though. When you pick a partner, like for instance, when you picked your wife, your husband, whoever, whatever, when you pick them, you pick somebody who's going to push you to be better, right? So why don't we pick our friends, our community the same fucking way? Like, why are we like, oh, I'm going to hang out with Tommy because fucking I've known Tommy all my whole life, but Tommy ain't doing shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if you're fucking syndicating apartments, call me. I want to talk to you just because I want to fucking know what you're doing. I want to know all about it. Like, I think that's cool. If you're fucking building any kind of business, I don't care if you own a car wash, come hang out with me. I want to know about it. Like, everybody helps each other. Like what you were saying with the coaching, like, yeah, you're not doing a lot of the coaching. 70% of it is your students doing the coaching. they're coaching each other. They're like, oh yeah, I've been through this before. I've been through that before. Oh, I've done this before. It's like, you don't even have to open your mouth. You just have to sit back there and smile. And you get just as much benefit as they do because you learn stuff from them. Like, everybody has something to teach each other. And it's like, I think people are just too scared to, like, I don't know, just jump and learn from each other. Community is everything. I mean, it really is. Because it's like, you wouldn't know what to do. Like, when my house got hit by a hurricane, and I had probably like 15 people who are in the community just call me and be like, hey, you know what happened when my house got hit? This is what I did. Or, hey, you good? You want me to send you some meals or something? I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I'm like, I've never had people just call me and be like, hey, can I send you dinner today? And I'm like, why? Well, your house got hit by a hurricane. It's totaled. I'm like, okay. You're not the insurance company. I don't need you to send me dinner. I'm not worried about. I need the insurance company to send me money. Like, that's what I need them to do. Like, I'm not worried about it, but I appreciate it, you know? And it's like,
I'm trying to get paid, man.
yeah, right. But it's just like, who you surround yourself with is what makes, you know, what makes you better, right? You wouldn't even be where you're at if you weren't hanging out with other people that were doing things too. You've had people that coached you along the way, whether it was a hired coach or just a person or a friend, right? So don't be scared to change your friend group. Don't be scared to cut off family members if you have to. I mean, cutting people off is different. You don't have to not talk to them anymore. They text you and say, I love you too, Pop. Then be on your way. It is what it is. Like, you got to do what you got to do. You got to take the negativity out and, you know, keep going. So
Facts.
Oh, I one little piece on that point. There's the coaches, there's the community, but sometimes I think people struggle to identify what that is. And for me, one of the first people is one of my best friends now. She was the person I met when I was at Quicken that kind of got me thinking, I don't have to be a 40. I started the job, I think, at 36 or 38,000 salary before we ended up graduate. She was like, you know, I think you're really smart. She said, I think you could be a six-figure earner with me. I sat next to her, it was just happenstance. And she was like, I want to help you get there. So we were just having such a good time hanging out. And she ended up becoming a mentor when I'd never expected her to be. She was just a friend, but she opened up a curious thought that I actually could be a six-figure earner earlier in my life than I ever thought. I thought I'd be 50 before I made six figures. I really believed that because that's what I was doing in my late 20s. I was working a $30,000, $36,000, $38,000 job that had commission opportunities to 45. Like, that's it. Like, I thought that was a great congratulations. Yeah. You just got a $60,000 bill from college and you got a 45 best case salary with commission. Like, that was
congratulations.
But when she said you can do $100,000, something clicked for me because she looked at me dead in my eyes and made me believe it. And the people out there listening to this, think about the people that just get you thinking, maybe that could be me. Maybe I'm curious enough to think, God, man, what if that was that? Be around the people that give you that feeling, the people that make you realize that 2-degree change could be everything for the rest of your life. And that person, crazy enough, we've now moved 2 or 3 times, and guess where we live? On the same street in the same state now. And we both, like, I'm her daughter's goddad, and you know, I guess we have. Shoot, I didn't pick a godparents for my daughter. Yeah, I better do that. But she's gonna be mine. I'll tell you that. It's just so.
We're taking applications, folks.
Yes, that's right. Be curious. Be around people who make you excited to be curious. As long as it's not like drugs and weird stuff, I guess.
I mean, unless they're free. I mean, then drugs really don't matter. I mean, if the drugs are free, I mean, what can you do with that?
13.
Oh yeah.
You make me the good guy, which is weird. Usually, I'm the one being told I cuss too much. That's so crazy.
Oh, dude, you're hanging out with the wrong people. See, I guess you need some more people like me in your community.
I'm moving to Texas.
Yeah, there you go. That's where the party's at.
Yeah,
it's a big ass party too. So is I don't know. I'm gonna ask another question now. So is she still doing the same thing she was when you met her?
So yes, and so she got remarried since, and her husband's a good friend of ours now. But when he actually he was interested in getting into landscaping and a few other things. So we've now brought them into our world of Airbnb. So now he opened up a landscaping business. He services 95% only our properties. And we helped them kind of get started. We kind of walked them through some things. You know, how do you do invoicing? How do you do that? So we kind of helped. That was kind of my pay it back type of thing, pay it forward thing. Paying it back while paying it forward, I guess, for them. individually. But it's been cool because now they're talking about getting into excavation and cement. And they're like, would you be down to like, pay for some of these tools, the cement truck? I was like, absolutely. Like if we get into the cement business together, that'll be helpful, especially if we end up doing like more of these hot tub pads and maybe pools. I want to start adding pools, indoor pools to my properties. That's my next big thing. And then, just adding units anywhere really. So it's just crazy. When you are around like-minded people, it spreads like fire. And that's, you gotta, burn the boats, cross the river, and don't look back, man. Cause it's pretty cool once you do it.
Yeah. Well, my broker, Matt, we could do this again because we may need to, but we both do have to go. Unfortunately, I want to keep going. I mean, I want it to be, I want you guys to share this shit like it's a Joe Rogan podcast. We'll make it 3 hours for you. Yeah. So what I want you to do is I want to tell everybody where they can find you, how they can see you, whatever the case may be. If you do have a link for your coaching program or any kind of links you want to drop, just DM me or DM Austin. He'll send it to me, whatever you want to do. But we really appreciate you getting on and spending an hour and 20 minutes with us, which is just absolutely amazing. I think you dropped so many nuggets and bombs and everything else that I think that if you didn't learn anything from this episode, then you should go listen to a boring podcast. But yeah, so
can you MC everything in my life, Matt?
Dude, I can. If you want, I can. If you need me to come speak at one of your coaching events about, I don't know, my socks, I could do that for you, whatever you want. No problem. Actually, we're going to have a conversation after this when we get off about something.
Okay.
So
I really appreciate you guys. If you guys aren't following co-host bros right now, make sure you do that. You can find me, my broker Matt's my tag on pretty much everything, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, YouTube. But beyond that, really, guys, it was a pleasure just kind of catching up with you, meeting you, Matt, getting to hang out with you again, Austin. And if you guys ever need anything, feel free to hit me up in the DMs. But yeah, I'll hang out.
Awesome. All right, Austin.
Peace, guys.
Peace.
Hey guys, if you could just leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, that would be awesome. Right now we're running a contest and we're going to pick winners to get some free co-host bros gear. All you got to do is leave us a review. Doesn't matter what the review is. It could be a 1-star, it could be a 5-star. Just shoot a snippet of it to info@cohostbros.com. That's info@cohostbros.com. And we would really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening.
The Co-Host Bros Podcast.